What's the best piece of advice you have for contractors dealing with that overhead and profit issue?
Oh, the most important thing that I teach, hands down, the most important thing that I teach is a pre-adjustment conference. Is when you sit down with the homeowner or the commercial property owner, as the case may be, about 2 hours, so everything is fresh in their memory. Sit down with them about 2 hours before the adjuster is scheduled to show up. And you're going to educate them about the claims process. You're going to teach them how the claims process is supposed to work. So if the adjuster comes out and does something other than, then they'll be able to pick up on that really quickly, that the adjuster was supposed to do this and he's doing that instead. And it's an issue of setting expectations with the property owner. And if you set expectations ahead of time, then when the adjuster does nonsense, the consumer then can stand up for themselves. They're not standing up and being on your side, the contractor. They're standing up for themselves. Mm-hmm. They're saying, no, that isn't right. I don't have to go out and get 3 bids. Mm-hmm. Where in my policy does it say that I have to go out and get 3 bids? I already have hired a contractor. Why would I want to go out and get 3 bids if I've already hired a contractor? Where in my policy does it say that I have to do this, such and such? Or where in my policy does it say I have to do that, such and such? And if they start asking those kinds of questions, where in my policy does it say I have to qualify for general contractors overhead and profit? Where does it say that? You know what? The adjuster doesn't have an answer for that because the policy doesn't say that. And so the consumer can ask a question like that, and it puts the adjuster back on his heels. He's so used to just saying whatever he says, and there's an assumptive authority as if he's wearing a badge or something. Mm-hmm. There's an assumptive authority from the consumer. Well, if the adjuster says such and such, it must be true. But rather, we teach consumers to ask questions to make sure that what the adjuster says is, number one, true. For example, an adjuster says, well, that's just my company's internal policies and procedures. When exactly did the consumer agree to be bound by the carrier's internal policies and procedures? They're not bound by those policies and procedures. If they are, so the consumer can ask that question. Where in my policy does it state that I'm obligated to obey your company's internal policies and procedures? Show me in my policy where it says that. Because if I am bound by your company's policies and procedures, I need the manual. Send me the manual of all the rules that I have to follow. And if you're not going to send me the manual, then obviously I'm not bound by your company's internal policies and procedures. And so therefore, stop trying to put extra contractual obligations on me and trying to make me follow rules that I'm not obligated to follow. Imagine a consumer saying something like that to an adjuster, and the adjuster realizes that his feet are firmly planted in midair. He doesn't have any ground to stand on. That what he's been saying all along is nonsense, and it's never occurred to him before that it's nonsense. But when the consumer asks these questions, then all of a sudden they go, wow, you know what? That's a really good question. Anyway, so that's what I teach. I wrote a book called Level the Playing Field. It's about 250 pages or something like that. Half of it is written for the consumer to educate the consumer what's going on with their insurance claim. And the second half is written to the professionals, the contractor, the public adjuster, the plaintiff attorney, anyone who's working in the industry, to educate them how to deal with claims adjusters and how to get clients the maximum legitimate settlement for their claim.